Elephant in the room. No, the voice does not match the beard. Now that that important note's out of the way, let's rank every blue tool in Silksong from S tier to F tier. Let's start with whatever order tier maker has given us these today. So starting off, we've got the Claw Mirror, which you get in Act 2 from defeating Trobio. It's a pretty decent burst of damage on top of your bind. It's nothing crazy. It's definitely not an S or an A. I think it might be somewhere around a B tier if I had to place it. Claw Mirrors, the upgraded version on the other hand, that you get in Act 3 from beating Tormented Trobio. I'm going to go ahead and throw an A tier. Now, if you're using Witchcrest specifically, this is probably an S tier tool because just the insane nuke of damage you get off of every bind is crazy. But for every other crest, I think that Claw Mirrors is an A tier charm. It's a good chunk of damage. This is decent when you get in Act 2, but this is really good when you get in Act 3. Those void-soaked enemies have a lot of health, and this can help chip away at them a little bit. Next up we have Grubsong's successor, the Druid's Eye and the Druid's Eyes. The Druid's Eye... Look, okay, I'm gonna have to do something. There's no D tier. I don't think there are any D tier blue tools. I think all the blue tools are good. All the blue tools help you in some way, so I don't think there are any that are D or F. I think the lowest is going to be C tier, which is where I'm going to put the Druid's Eye in C tier. You get 1 strand of silk for every 2 hits you take. In Silksong, that might mean you're taking 4 masks of damage before you get 1 strand of silk from this thing, depending on the enemy you're fighting, which, you know, isn't worth it. It's something, but it's not worth it. It's fine before you get any other blue tools, but as soon as you get any other blue tool, please put that on instead of this one. The Druid's Eyes, on the other hand, is an exception. It's a lot better than the base Druid's Eye because you get 2 strands of silk for every 2 hits you take. This is really good on face tanky builds like Beast Crest or Wanderer's Crest, for example. It's not an S tier because obviously it's just better to not get hit, but this is Silksong and a lot of people get hit a lot of times. I think it's a high B, maybe even a low A. I'm going to leave it in high B for now, but I might change that later. Next up, we have the Egg of Flelia, which is an interesting one. It acts sort of like Spell Twister by making your silk skills cost 25% less to cast. However, it only works when you're at full health. Now, this is Silksong. I don't spend a lot of time at full health. I'm sure a lot of you people watching at home don't spend a lot of time at full health. So having a blue tool that is useless a lot of the time doesn't really feel great to me. You might bring this on like Shaman Crest since you can kind of keep your distance with Shaman Crest, in which case I could see it being maybe A tier to help you get more silk skills off more frequently, but I think that this is just kind of a C tier, okay blue tool. Again, I'm getting hit a lot. I don't know about you guys, but I never put this thing on. Next up, we've got the Fractured Mask. This is a very interesting blue tool. If you are in Act 1, Fractured Mask is S tier. It is the best blue tool available to you in the first act of Silksong. This is a must pick up if you want to survive Steel Soul. The extra 1 or 2 hits you get from Fractured Mask can help you survive some encounters where you would otherwise not. If you don't know, it gives you an extra hit on top of your normal health bar. The hit does not look at the number of masks, so if you're down to just your Fractured Mask and you take a 2 masks worth of damage, you will survive 2 masks of damage. So it lets you take 1 to 2 extra masks of damage per each time you rest at a bench, which is pretty powerful, especially in Act 1 where you don't have a lot of other resources to work with. Now, the problem with Fractured Mask is as soon as you get into Act 2, and then eventually even Act 3, you have much better survival blue tools to work with that I think that it falls off a bit. It might be a low A tier, maybe even a high B tier, and I'll touch on why it gets outclassed in just a few moments here. Next up, we've got the Injector Band. Now, if you ask me, where does the Injector Band go a couple weeks into Silksong, I would have thrown it in S tier. It speeds up the speed of your binds, which is insanely useful when you're first learning the game and trying to find good healing opportunities. But the thing is in Silksong, if you get Hornet's movement down, there's a lot of absolutely free windows for healing where you do not need this at all. I think that because of that, Injector Band goes somewhere in A tier, maybe around here. It outclasses the Fractured Mask, I think, because you're going to have a lot more healing opportunities that weren't present to you before. but I don't know if you need all those healing opportunities. Like, you could just wait for a safe one once you learn the actual fight. Like, if you're struggling on a boss and you're not finding good heal windows, you could just learn the boss through losing to it a few times, and then eventually you won't even need this. But this will be a good crutch through getting through the boss without learning every single heal opportunity. I hope that made sense. Probably not. It's the middle of the night. Next up, we have Long Claw, which increases your needle? Increases your needle range by a varying amount. Depends on what crest you're wielding. Now, on Wanderer crest, this is absolutely essential. This is a really great tool. Mark of Pride was really good in Hollow Knight. Long Claw is really good here. If you have an extra blue slot, throw this thing on Wanderer crest. You have to well, you don't have to throw it on, but you should be throwing it on. It'll help you a lot. I think that Long Claw is around here somewhere. It's not essential, but it's very nice. It's a good quality of life charm that'll make your time chasing down enemies and consistently landing hits a lot better. Next up, we have Magma Bell, and here's where I need to actually make a change to the tier list. So let me do this real quick. There are no D or F tier blue charms, but there are two blue, I keep saying charms. There are two blue tools. How the hell? I can't spell. That says environmental, right? I spelled it right. There are two blue tools that are extremely good depending where on the map you are. And if you are not in those specific places on the map, then you should not have these blue tools equipped. There are a few caveats. So Magma Bell and Wreath of Purity are really good if you're in the environments that they were built for. So Magma Bell is really good if you're in lava sections like Deep Docks and the Marrow. And Wreath of Purity is essential for Putrefied Ducks and Biowater. If you are not near magma or fire, you don't need the Magma Bell. If you are not near Biowater or Putrefied Ducks, then you do not need the Wreath of Purity. So like in Biowater and Putrefied Ducks, this is an S tier. Outside of it, it's completely useless. So I think it needs its own separate environmental tier where they're really good in specific environments, but outside of those environments, they do nothing. Now, Magma Bell is the exception because it's not just lava, it's also fire attacks from enemies. If I had to rank either of these, I think Magma Bell slots in more nicely to help you take a lot less damage from a good portion of enemies in the game. It's probably like an A tier somewhere, maybe here or here, but because if you just know whether or not you'll be fighting fire enemies or not, it kind of depends how useful it is. These two are really weird to rank for me. I think they need to be separate. That's just my opinion. Next up, we have the Memory Crystal. This is like the Thorns of Agony of Silksong. Now, Thorns of Agony, I got a lot of flack for having beef with because it ate at your iframes, which means sometimes you would just get hit twice from having it equipped, almost making you worse off having it equipped, I would say. With Memory Crystal, you do not lose the iframes, but there is a chance that your little memories you create each time you get hit, the little shadows of Hornet that can explode if enemies run into them, the enemies just don't ever run into them. So I think it's okay. It's better than Druid's Eye. I'm going to put it kind of somewhere mid-C tier, I think. The bursted damage could be nice, maybe if you're doing some face tanking or whatever, but I don't know. You're better off with like other survivability charms or DPS charms, I think. Next up is Multi-Binder, kind of Silksong's version of Deep Focus. It splits your heal in two, and it gives you an extra mask on your heal. So instead of 3, you will get 4. It does other unique things, like on Beast Crest, you can heal up to 4 masks per kind of Fury state instead of the normal 3. You also get an extra Root Thrash if you're using the Witch Crest, for example. So very versatile. It also has the added benefit, if you are in Biowater and you have a bind ready, the first bind will get rid of your maggot status. It'll clear the maggots, and the second bind will heal you for the 2 masks that it normally does. So it's really good in Biowater also. On top of that, just splitting the heal in 2 is also a bonus. Like, you could get the 2 masks, maybe take a hit of damage. Well, at least your +1 mask, depending on, you know, it could be a 2 mask damage hit, but if it's a 1 mask damage hit, you're still +1 mask on your heal, even if you messed up the timing. Obviously, it's better to just get the full 4 heal instead of 1 or none. The thing about Multi-Binder though is, I feel like Deep Focus struggled in Hollow Knight combat, but Hornet can go all the way up to the corner of the screen, start a bind up where the boss can never touch her because she has like the double jump and she can heal midair, and She has way more movement than the knight, way more freedom in her healing. She can buy herself all the time she needs, go up way to the corner of the screen where the boss will never touch her, and do the full multi-bind for 4 masks without worrying about the downside of the fact that it slows down your bind speed. This is an amazing survivability charm, especially in Silksong where enemies are dealing more damage to you. Having your heals be more silk efficient is amazing. This will help you last longer in long drawn out boss fights where you're taking a lot of hits. You just have to kind of get used to the slower heal speed, find smarter and safer places to pop your heal, and you'll be all right. This is a high A tier. I would throw it in S tier for how versatile and great it is, but I think that, you know, there's always going to be those, not that I'm one of these, but there's always going to be those hitless speedrunner dudes that never get hit and never need a healing tool. So I think for that reason, it's high A tier at best. Super good, super good. Maybe for casuals, it's S tier, and then just kind of in general, high A tier. I don't know. Next up, Imaginary Technique Hollow Purple Polyp Pouch. This thing imbues poison on all of your red tools, adds a damage over time effect that ignores damage modifiers. If you don't know how strong this thing is, go and try the Purple Cogfly, Imaginary Technique Purple Cogfly. Let me know how quickly you destroy everything. This is an S tier DPS charm. Red tools are already really strong. Red tools act like spells in Silksong, except you don't need to spend like your soul meter or silk meter to cast them. You just spend some predetermined resource that you brought into the fight. Incredibly, incredibly strong. S tier, one of the best blue tools. You get this thing in Act 1 and it is strong. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, it is consistent throughout the game. Huge damage dealer. You could throw it on an extra blue slot on your Hunter Crest, or you could go Architect Crest and go absolutely insane with this thing. There might be a big 3 blue tools in Silksong. Maybe you could argue big 5, but there are like a big 3 DPS tools in Silksong, and this is one of them. Next up is the Quick Sling, which doubles the kind of the rate at which you throw out your red tools. It doesn't give you free red tools, it just makes you throw out 2 at once of whatever you're casting. So instead of throwing out 1 Cogfly, now you're throwing out 2 at the same time. This is a weird one. I feel like, yeah, it increases your DPS, but like, unless you're running Architect Crest, you don't really need it. But if you're running Architect Crest, it's a nice quality of life. I think it's like a decent, it's an A tier, like it's fine. It boosts your red tool DPS. If you're not on Architect Crest, you're just gonna burn your red tools too quickly. Oops. But if you are on Architect Crest, you do want to burn through those red tools quickly, rebuild new ones with your craft bind, and then burn through even more. You just want to melt things as quickly as possible. Quick Sling will help you do that. I think it's an A tier. Reserve Bind is up next, which when you rest at a bench, you get a free bind separate from your Silk Spool entirely. It also has a niche use where if you are on the Architect Crest, this is a reserved craft bind if you want to use it for that as well. Super fun, pretty interesting. I think it's a high B tier. I don't usually find myself saying, oh, I wish I had an extra bind here. I think having 1 extra bind versus like getting more out of every single bind throughout a fight is more valuable, if that makes sense. It's nice. It definitely helps. But it's never something where I'm like, wow, I wish I had an extra free bind here. It never feels like a necessity. Maybe on Architect Crest where I just want an extra craft bind, I might put it in like low A. But other than that, it's good. It's fine. Maybe I should retitle these, huh? Let's do this. Broken. Amazing. Great. Good. Because there are no bad ones. There are no bad ones. This might help you recontextualize this a bit. Next up, we have the Snitch Pick. It adds an extra hit onto your claw line, so it's technically like a little DPS boost, I guess. It does also make enemies drop extra shell shards on top of what they will normally drop. It's okay. You know, if you want to farm shell shards, it's great. In combat, it's good, I guess. I'm here. I'm there. Snitch Pick defenders, please let me know in the comments where it should go. Next up is the Spool Extender. I don't really see a reason to bring this one. Okay, I can think of 2 reasons to bring this. I said I couldn't think of a reason, and then I instantly thought of two. Number one, you put this on Wanderer's Crest because your nail's gonna go burr. You want to use some silk for healing, but you still want enough silk to keep your passive crit chance active. In which case, it's pretty good. Maybe even low grade. The other one is you want to bring it on Shaman Crest to fire more spells more frequently. In which case, it's kind of great. You get more spells without needing to farm hits off of enemies. You might be able to nuke some stuff before it even gets to touch you, before you even run out of silk. I think I'm gonna leave it in great. It's pretty good. Oh, I didn't even mention for reserve bind. The reserve bind is also slower than a normal bind, if that matters at all. Up next, we've got the Volt Filament, which increases your silk skill power by 25% and also adds some damaging ticks onto your silk skills. Electric damage, little bits of damage at a time. Kind of similar to the Polyp Pouch poison over time, but it's electricity this time instead of poison. Now, the 25% amazingly stacks with Shaman Crest 50% damage boost to silk skills. On Shaman Crest, this is broken. On Hunter Crest, or any other crest where you have blue slots and red tool slots, yeah, it's pretty broken. I'm torn. You can nuke things so fast with this. I don't know if it's as strong as the Polyp Pouch. I'm throwing it in broken tier. This is one of the 3 big DPS tools in Silksong. Shaman Crest with this thing on is absolutely nuts. Even just throwing it on Hunter Crest if you don't know what other blue tool to throw on with it. Just for an extra 25% damage onto your silk skills. Maybe you're using a Silk Spear on it, or what's it called? God, it's late. Cross Stitch. Personally, I enjoy Polyp Pouch a lot more, but there is a ton of value in the Volt Filament. Don't overlook it. I think that there are some crests where I wouldn't bring this, obviously, like Beast Crest, for example. Probably not Wanderer Crest either. Maybe Wanderer, who knows? Yeah, why not Wanderer, actually? You wouldn't bring it on Architect either, because it doesn't have silk skills. But then you wouldn't bring Polyp Pouch on Shaman, because it doesn't have red tool. So, trade-offs, pros and cons, depends on your playstyle. But these are both incredibly powerful, incredibly useful. Just depends, what crest are you using? What do you have room for? And what do you want to nuke things with? Red tools or silk skills? Or if you're on Hunter Crest, maybe both. Next up, we've got Weave Light. It increases the speed at which you recover your silk from your silk hearts, and also kind of grants you like an extra silk heart. So if you've got all 3 silk hearts after you beat the game, or after you've just collected them all before beating the game, you can passively gain 3 strands of silk. If you throw the Weave Light on, you will passively gain 4 strands of silk. This means if you're patient enough, you can cast silk skills without even hitting a single enemy. Also has a nice synergy with stuff like Silk Speed Anklets, which burns silk just from running around. It'll help you get that silk back faster so you can keep zooming around and collecting stuff or whatever. I like this on Shaman Crest. I also like it for general platforming. I want to use my claw line to get around. Having to wait for your silk to come back when you want to just claw line is really annoying, so having the Weave Light on definitely helps with just general exploration, smooth gameplay, and feels great to have on. I don't think it's essential, but it always feels really good to put on. This is definitely high great tier, maybe low amazing. I'm gonna throw it in high great for now. Next is the Wisp-Fire Lantern, which is Silksong's version of Glowing Womb. I wasn't a big fan of Glowing Womb. I know it has pretty good DPS for like if you're a hitless speedrunner demon who just doesn't need healing. The Glowing Womb would just be extra passive damage while your nail and your spells are doing their thing or whatever. I feel like the damage from Wisp-Fire Lantern is pretty pitiful. It misses quite a bit as well. It eats at your silk that you want for healing and silk skills, and it takes really long. Like the little fire guy spawns and then he sits there for a couple seconds and then he goes after the enemy. I think it's too slow. It's unreliable. It eats the silk that you want for other things. I'm gonna put it like right here. It's not bad. It has a chance to proc like a fire status effect. It's alright, you know? Up next, we have the Sawtooth Circlet. You've seen the Envy Youngblood videos, and if you haven't, go check them out. The Sawtooth Circlet does a little slashy slash around you whenever you double jump or deploy your drifter's cloak. Forgot what it was called. Whenever you use your drifter's cloak or your fade down cloak, little slashy slash around Hornet for a burst of damage, you can do absolutely insane boss melting combos with this thing. And it is one of the best blue tools in all of Silksong if you take the time to learn those combos. I haven't taken the time to learn those combos yet, but I have seen the footage. If you put the work in, this is a broken tool. It might even be the most broken tool in all of Silksong. Roll the clip. I'm going to sit down one day and learn the combos so that I can use them in the Silksong DLC, hopefully. For me personally, like without knowing the combos, this is just like, okay, maybe great, maybe good. It's mildly annoying during platforming sometimes where the slash from the double jump or from the drifter's cloak could destroy like a platform or enemy that you wanted to bounce off of sometimes. But for combat, this thing is broken. Probably the most broken tool in all of Silksong. Really good. Insane on Wanderers, Hunters, Beast Crest, just bursting bosses down in seconds. Last but not least, we've got the pin badge, which is Silksong's version of Nailmaster's Glory. Reduces the charge time of your needle strikes, I think they're called in this game. Basically your nail arts. The problem is in Silksong, nail arts kind of suck. Needle strikes? You'd think I don't even know what these are called. What do you think? I make content on this game or something? I don't know what anything this game is called. The only crest that this is good on is probably Shaman Crest because it has a massive, long-reaching needle strike, and you can fire them off pretty quickly in great succession with the pin badge on to safely farm a bunch of silk for your silk skills. I think it's amazing on Shaman Crest. But on any other crest, I think it's just good. I'm going to throw it here. Like, for example, on Wanderer Crest, you're better off just smacking stuff over and over and over and over. You're hoping to get your crits. You want to build up your silk rapidly. Instead of just getting like 1 or 2 hits, like what's the point of doing that with a needle strike when you could just burst things down with a bunch of rapid hits? Pin badge is good. I don't think it's great. On Shaman Crest, it's great or amazing. On every other crest, I think it's just good. Editing Haskill from the future here real quick. The tier list didn't include the Warding Bell for some reason, so I'm adding it in now real quick. Warding Bell, Act 1 tool, puts a protective barrier around Hornet that protects her while she casts a bind, similar to Balder Shell in the original Hollow Knight, but I think a little bit better for 2 reasons. Number 1 is you don't have to recharge it at a bench like Balder Shell does. Balder Shell gets 3 free hits and then you have to recharge it at a bench. Warding Bell is as many as you want. And number 2 is when you're hit and the Warding Bell saves you during a bind, it also does a small burst of damage around you. For that reason, I think in Act 1, this is genuinely an amazing blue tool to pick up. It'll help you learn when your safe bind scenarios are. It'll help prevent you from dying, and it'll help keep you alive in some cases. That being said, though, it does kind of fall off as soon as you get Injector Band and Multi-Binder. Injector Band, it's better to just get the heal off more quickly and not get hit. When you're hit through the Warding Bell, you don't get the heal. Obviously, just finishing the heal faster is better. And then Multi-Binder, we talked about already. It's better to learn the safe heals. By the time you've gotten used to these two, eventually you'll take the training wheels off, and this will be a lot better. For that reason, I think after Act 1, Warding Bell falls into high, great tier. It is a really good blue tool, but I think there are better survivability options. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the ranking. Let me know if there are any that look really out of place to you. I'm interested to read your comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the road ahead.